You guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so glad for you guys to be here, and I want to do this right. So before we get started, I would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather. It's the unceded territory of the Anacostan, Piscataway, and Pamunkey people. Okay, so welcome to our storytellers, former and current members of the U Armed Forces. I got my I salute shirt on for you guys, so I definitely salute all the U.S. Armed Forces, past presidents, and we are here to bear witness to our stories and our truth. We are grateful to have you all here for this World Pride Parade events, our stories, our truth, and LGBTQ and veteran stories of joy and resilience. Tonight will be a night of storytelling, a sharing space, and ultimately a celebrating of the joy, resilience, and strength of the LGBTQ service members, veterans, and family. Our communities hold so much power, connection, and love. 1 million LGBTQ veterans across the country have served in every war and conflict, and many of them who have served under policies that mandated they hide their sexual and gender orientations. They have faced discharge or worse from the military. Despite this, our community has preserved and served anyway because many of us live by the motto, serve before self. Lastly, we welcome each of you to be present in this moment as you can. We have a photographer documenting tonight's events, so I ask that you set your phones aside for the evening and be present in this space that we have created. Your programs has a QR code to submit a form to access tonight's photos. So now that we've got the housekeeping things out of the way, I need scripts, I got this. Like, y'all know that the bathrooms are here just behind me. Please feel free. I know, please be respectful of the stage, but also be mindful, like the bathrooms are there. But I'm like super excited to be here. I know a couple of you, but there's so much stories within us as veterans and just as a community in general. So to reiterate the words that I read, be present, be present. So the first person that I'm going to bring up for their story is thanking them because this is their amazing event. Their amazing venue. It's super dope. They curated a dope space for our community, and I'm so glad that we have him in the building and have it. So you guys, please welcome Nick Sasaki to the microphone for the story time. I need y'all to give it up. Give it up.
I'll take that one. Hello. Okay. Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you guys so much for choosing Spark to be the host of this event. It's super cool, super like full circle moment for me. I just got out 2 years ago and have kind of been in the nightlife industry with planning to do a year of grad school on the GI Bill and then find a real job. And I just like love bartending so much. And I was thinking about why it was so enjoyable for me. And for me, when I kind of thought back about it, it was because like being in queer spaces is like the first time, the only time that like you can truly be yourself. And I never really had that on a day-to-day before, especially coming from being in uniform for 8 years. And so for me, that was just like so liberating and just so amazing to also see so many other people being like completely themselves. That I think I came to have a deeper appreciation for what nightlife and like queer spaces provide than maybe somebody who's just been in DC for college and then onwards. So when I was talking to the advanced team that came out here yesterday to do a site survey, it was just like so interesting to see like we've all kind of had the same like struggles in the military, but then we also equally like appreciate the space so much more now that we're here. And so my goal with this space is just to, for all the people that don't get to live in DC every day and like live openly and, be with their partner or hold their hand or whatever, just to know that like as long as you're in DC, as long as you're in this space, like you're safe, and we're here for you. So I know we have people that have gone through like way harder stuff than I have, and people who have lived in way more difficult parts of the country or overseas assignments where you can't be out. So this is a safe space for everybody. Thank you guys all so much for coming. And let me know if you all have any questions or want to throw any events here.
You guys keep it going one more time for Nick. Oh, thank you for leaving the mic there. You're so kind. Okay, you guys, that is Nick's story. Again, this venue, super dope and grateful for it. The next storyteller veteran that we have coming up has an amazing story. I actually read his bio. If you guys have the thing, I want you guys to take the minute to read it. Very impressive, but of course he's going to give it all to you in just a second. Y'all good? Okay. Mr. Brookshire, to the microphone. You guys give it up and show it up.
Hello, it's so nice to be here. How do you condense your story to 5 minutes? I'm not sure, but I'm going to try. And I'm going to focus a little bit more on my experience in the Army. And I was kind of sitting with myself and thinking about what I might even title this, and I was like, I'm going to call it Squared Away. So my name is Richard Brookshire. I'm the co-founder and the co-CEO of the Black Veterans Project. I come from a military family. My father is a white, Trump-supporting middle American boy from Ohio. Grew up as a farmer, joined up at 16 to go off to Vietnam and served through the Gulf War. And my mother is a Haitian immigrant who came and also served in the Army. I was born in 1987, grew up on a few different military bases, and shortly after the Gulf War, my parents moved to Florida when my dad retired. My parents got divorced, and my dad, I think, had a difficult transition out of the military after serving so much time. Sorry, I don't know if there's a little bit of feedback, but you guys can still hear me fine. And he basically abandoned the family. So I grew up with my mom in South Florida. And I always knew that I was a young queer kid, probably knew from a very young age that I was a queer kid. Over basically all the way through high school, I came out at 16, back in 2001-ish, 2002-ish. It took me a long time to figure out who I was and have an appreciation for who I was. And around 18, I got a scholarship to go to Morehouse College, which is the only all-Black male university, school, or college in the world. And I spent a year there. Unfortunately, I lost my scholarship because, being a young queer person finding themselves for the first time, I didn't have the kind of support system that I needed. And then I found myself back in Florida, canvassing for the Obama campaign when he was running in 2008, and felt deeply inspired when he won, and decided I lacked discipline. Maybe that wasn't the reason why I didn't finish college. I needed a way to pay for school. And we had our first Black president, and I was like, this is a great time to go and serve. And so, and I knew that both of my parents had this formative experience in the Army, and so I wanted that too. And so I joined up as a combat medic, and very quickly found myself stationed in Germany. Went from being in a very affirming environment, one that affirmed my Blackness, one that affirmed my queerness. There's a lot of Black gay men at Morehouse, and to an environment that was mostly constituted of Midwestern white boys like my dad, who weren't so welcoming to my identity. I also, at the time, it was the Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still in place. So I knew when I joined up that I had to take a step back from my identity in order to serve. And when I got to that base, I found myself only able to hide so much. At the end of the day, maybe I don't fit all the definitions of hypermasculinity. So I think that my queerness was sniffed out by certain people. And though they could never prove it because I never spoke about it, they certainly made me a target of their harassment. And there was one specific leader, the NCO that was in charge of all of us, that had a particular ire for me. And so I remember even in the build up to Afghanistan, that first 6 months, the way that he would taunt me, the way that he would pick on me, the way that he would single me out, no matter how hard I tried, how hard I worked, how much I gave, And I, had an explosive episode because I could only take so much. And right before, I think they had just announced that they were kind of stopping discharges under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, whether it was like under review, something like that was happening. And I knew that I was about to go off to war. And I basically told some of the folks that I worked with that if I'm going to go off to war with you all, I need to go as my full self. So I came out to the folks that I was serving with. And some of the officers specifically were actually really protective of me, partly because I was squared away. Went out to Afghanistan, had a really tough year there, but got through it. And I earned the respect of a lot of my colleagues when I was there. And when I got back, they sent me off to, I wanted to get the fuck out. They sent me off to training so that I could become an NCO, because they felt like if there was only a few of us that they felt like had to become NCOs before we got out, just as a matter of principle, because they really respected us. And I remember before I got off active duty, that one NCO that had given me the hardest time, the one NCO that had really made me feel ostracized, devalued, and all of that. He took me on a drive a couple of weeks before I discharged. And he said that out of all the soldiers that he had served with, that I actually impressed him the most. And I think he thought it was a compliment to be telling me, on the other side of years of harassment, that I had earned his respect. But I remember feeling like, frankly, fuck you, because all the ways in which you did not mentor me, you did not hold space for me, that you targeted me because of who I was and who I naturally love. And so I say this story, I'm not going to go into all the things that I've done since then, but I think that was such a formative experience for me. And I don't quite take too much time to look back at how much that experience shaped me, but I'm certainly appreciative of all the ways in which it helped to form me. And I do think that it's partly because of the years that I spent out of the closet from 16 to 20, that I had a sense of self, that I was able to survive those 4 years on active duty in an environment that wasn't welcoming to who I was. And I'll say this to close: Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed when I was in Afghanistan on my birthday on September 20th. And it didn't make much of a difference to me as far as, how I would move in uniform, because I still felt the threat of the everyday experiences of and prejudices of a lot of the folks that were around me. And now we're at a particular time when a lot of those gains are being rolled back. And I'm just really proud to be in a room with you all, because I know that in the years ahead, we're going to be fighting the good fight together. And I hope that you've learned a little bit about my experience in uniform, and thank you for holding space.
Thank you. I'm being sabotaged. Thank you so much for your story, Richard. We appreciate it. Y'all give it up one more time for Richard. The next amazing person I'm going to bring up, I always love a person in aviation. It's kind of my thing. I don't know why. I just like planes and sky and all things in the air. So this person's bio really touched me, and I'm really excited to bring her up. So you guys, please give a warm, amazing welcome for Ms. Victoria Johnson.
What's up? It's crazy. I really fucking hate public speaking. We're just like, and it's funny because they're like, oh yes, 5 minutes, and like that's perfect. That's like my perfect amount of time. But like when you want to like say things about yourself, like would maybe leave like a little bit more time. So I'm a reader, so I wrote some things that I'm gonna read. I think it's better that way. But I'm incredibly honored to be here, and just share space with you all, like Richard said. Especially right now, we're fucked up right now. This place is fucked. Like we're fucked, and like I don't think people really like realize where we are right now. So yeah, I just am thankful for this place to hold space for that. I remember when I first joined the military, I walked into the recruiter's office. Sergeant Goodwin, I remember. And it's crazy because like I walked in there because I was like looking for something to do. You know what I mean? I don't know what I was looking for. I definitely didn't fucking find it in there. I know that for sure. It wasn't in there. But I know what I did find from the military is like my people, my community, you all people who fought alongside me and who were with me in tough times. So about 3 weeks in to basic boot camp, I hear Johnson from the chow slot. And it's my drill sergeant. He's like, yo, we have to cut your hair. I said, you motherfuckers. I came in with locks. This is my second time. And so they're like, it's time. I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy. First off, the drill sergeant said I was good. So anyways, 3 weeks in, and I was tight because my bunkmate Louie, she put my hair in a bun every single morning. So like, we were good. But fast forward to the Crown Act, things like that. It was crazy watching like me having to get my hair buzzed. I remember the lady who did it. She just said, "Don't look down." I cried the fucking time. I came back, my cap was like so big, and then the drill sergeant's like, "Yeah, you get all the bitches in the bay." Like little did you know, I was already getting all the bitches in the bay. But I remember buying pride flags that actually hang in my current office right now, and a bunch of rainbow patches. I bought them on Amazon. We don't know what we don't know. Fuck pesos. But it's crazy, that we had a community there already amongst each other. So it was crazy that I had to change who I am to conform to what society thought I needed to be, or who, just like what's going on every day in our lives. In fact, I remember telling my sister, so I'm a flight attendant, if that wasn't picked up, thank you. I'm actually the International Vice President of the Flight Attendant Union. Thank you. The very first crewman and combat veteran, but I say that because representation matters, and when people know what it was like to just like be a flight attendant, white, blonde hair, up, heels, everything, you know what I mean, and to be me here in my authentic self. But I remember going to flight attendant training and telling my sister, I'm scared. She's like, what are you scared for, But I think it's the unknown, how they're going to strip you down. Like the military stripped me down. I went, to flight attendant training. They stripped me down the first day. They're like, hey, I did my research and get too much heels. Too much heels. You need mascara, blush, lipstick. So I'm a good soldier about the things. I did the things. I had my roommate beat my face every day, whatever. I showed up, whatever. But the very first day of training, I think they might have got me fucked up because they're like, oh, you need to order skirts and a dress. I said, nope, that's where we stop. And so I ended up being able to buy pants, but with like my pushback, no one else in my company has to like be told what they have to wear. They can pick whatever fucking uniform they want now, and that just shows like the resilience that we, I think, also to training and that we're taught. I don't come from labor. I don't come from the military. My family wasn't militant. They weren't away. They were military missionaries. So I guess they're militant, God's militant folks. And so they've always had my back, and I always felt very seen by them to be my authentic self in whatever I do. And so, in the military, we say that complacency will kill you. We can't afford to be complacent right now. People are coming for us every fucking day. When I look at people who are clapping that, trans vets are being fucking put on medical leave from the military, though you are clapping with the same fucking hands that you built care packages for. Did you know that, motherfucker? Did you know that? So it's fucking crazy how people don't understand. I always say don't clap for veterans and take their rights away. So fast forward to many years, I've become the International Vice President of the Flight Attendant Union, representing flight attendants who look like me, who love like me, who are veterans. My very first trip to Afghanistan, I actually took Omni Air, which is now an airline that we represent. I remember watching the flight attendants. They had all their pins on them, going through and taking care of, wishing soldiers well on their way. And it's a fucking great opportunity that I can now go to Omni, see the flight attendants, thank them for what they do, but also educate flight attendants to say, hey, these are soldiers, they're trans, they need respect, they're queer, and they fought and served our country. And so every day I am honored to be in my position. I'm honored to be a veteran. I'm honored to be a gay Black woman. And I'm just so thankful that you created this space for us today. So thank you.
Thank you so much, KJ. Look, she did it because give it up for Couture for being y'all's comedic relief tonight. Her story was not only telling, it was funny, and I appreciate that. So the next storyteller that we have coming up is very near and dear to my heart. This is a friend. We have been through the trenches in Minority Veterans of America, and that is just a small part of her story. So you guys, please give it up for the person who has helped create this thing that we are doing tonight, and so much more that Minority Veterans does. A huge part of this. The hands behind it all. You'll give it up for Ash Wallace.
Hi, everybody. I served under Don't Ask, Don't Tell and had sexual trauma in the military, had a really rough go of it, but I found a home with minority vets. I really struggled last year and was trying everything to stay alive. And I tried ketamine therapy. I went through this amazing thing called Save a Warrior that completely changed my life. And as soon as I got back from the suicide intervention program, I lost my job. And the next day I told Lindsay, and Elsie was like, well, since you don't have anything going on, we're making the first LGBTQ veteran transitional housing program in Seattle. And I had just left a job working as a director of services for a residential program. And it was a perfect fit. It's my favorite thing to do is fund programs. So I got to fly out, spend a ton of time in Seattle with Elsie, and I got to build the programming for this home while it was under construction, and we were doing all the things, lifting all the things we shouldn't be lifting, and making things happen. In January, I went back out after the election, and we had 2 residents at the time, and they both said to me on separate occasions, "Is this still going to exist?" And that broke my heart. And the previous year when we were getting it all ready, Elsie and I talked a lot about our suicidal ideation and the fact that we didn't think we'd even make it to here, and look what we get to do and how incredible it is we get to do the work that we're doing, but how bullshit it is that we finally want to live and now we have to fight fascists. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's just completely unfair. So I decided to make, while the residents were gone, I decided to make soup and make bread and listen to Andrea Gibson poetry over Spotify and write. And so I wrote this poem that I'm going to share with y'all. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? It's an impossible question for those of us who are living on borrowed time, who never thought they'd reach this unsteady future, who find themselves shocked and confused every year we complete without completing, because we never planned to make it this far, and now we don't know what to do. So we make bread, we make art, we make mistakes, we make hay, we make haste. We find ourselves frozen, trapped in our bodies, trapped in place for hours, trapped in panic for not doing all the things we should have done or the things we should be doing, because we were so busy surviving, believing that that heavy fact didn't carry any weight. We sit shitting ourselves to death instead of living, instead of forgiving, instead of seizing every moment we didn't think we had. Because what are we supposed to do when the world is burning and falling apart faster than our mental state on a dark, lonely night? Oh my God, when I see a cat laying in a sunbeam, when I catch the shadow of the hawthorn tree and my eye gets pulled to its red winter berries, when I feel the comfort of a fire, of a blanket, of a warm mug of tea cradled in my hands, of fresh sheets against my skin after a long shower on a longer day, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe I'm simply supposed to notice. Maybe I'm simply supposed to exist in this moment, living minute by minute. So don't ask where we see ourselves in 10 years. Some of us are simply hoping we make it to another tomorrow where we have another chance to do the things we didn't think we'd get to do. A tomorrow where the act of living stops feeling so heavy, so rushed, so demanding. When the evil men stop making the act of living feel like waging a war against hatred and ignorance every waking hour. When the frustration of the complicit, when a faction of the complicit and the indifferent will finally listen to those of us screaming and kicking and pulling out our hair, begging for the people to hear us. When we told them that they wanted us dead, or worse. But our voices got lost. We shouted into the wall of a hurricane, and the storm within us intensified, moving to match its pressure, and yet nothing. Did we move? No one. And everything we said would happen did. So don't ask where we'll be in 10 years. But I hope I'm still here. If anything, I hope I'm here to make bread and to make you feel loved, to knead the dough with my hands, grooved, increased with time, pushing compassion for all you carry in each stroke. A silent understanding with each stride I make with the heel of my palm, forming a loaf built with love and kindness and sustenance, baked in honor of survival. A loaf that says, we are here and we remain on a day we never thought we'd see. So we'll gather for communion, and our bread will taste of gratitude, of being alive, of being forgiven for all of the moments we were frozen in time because we simply didn't think we'd be here. But here we are, together, alive, fighting, but most importantly, living like we will be here.
Thank you so much, Miss Ash. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all something that really touches me. It's when somebody, and maybe y'all can connect with me on this. When somebody that you really love connects with somebody that you really have like another deep connection with, like when your besties are besties, right? Like, so Andrea doesn't know this, or Ash doesn't know this, but me and Andrea are cool. Like, that's my boo. So the idea of knowing that you just like did her piece and you kind of did it in her spirit, which I appreciate. So that just touches my heart for that. So kind of like 360 for me. So thank you for that. Like having your story be told about somebody else and then you redo it is amazing. So you all give it up for that. Super dope. Thank you. This next storyteller, and I haven't been giving you much about these people because for one, y'all have the bio, but for two, I don't know what they're going to say and I don't want to steal any thunder that they're going to create. But I have to acknowledge the pioneer that is about to approach this space. So please, you guys, give a warm welcome for Illyria Stanley.
Hi.
Hello.
Isn't it something? I mean, for those of us who went through Don't Ask, Don't Tell, for those of us who've been through the first band, other bands, this band, which you expect to be in such a beautiful space as this, with all of our people, just people you haven't met yet, but wonderful people. I've been known to be as an elder queer, as some fellow students called me not too long ago, and I've been around for a bit. I joined the Army in 2003.
Hello.
And thank you. I grew up in rural South Carolina as a child of the 70s and 80s. I knew I was different, but you just don't go into the library and ask for a book saying, this is how I feel. You don't do that in South Carolina. Well, actually, you still don't do that in South Carolina. So I found my way, hiding, figuring out, trying to understand. Thank goodness for the internet coming along to give me resources and find other people out there. But then it still wasn't safe to be. And I joined the Army because I wanted to serve. It was just after we invaded Afghanistan and I wanted to serve my country. It was the thing to do. It was the right thing to do. I left the job I had to join and serve my country in stealth. It shut off all by itself. Okay, but I joined in stealth. I realized yesterday a thought came to me that in stealth is just another word for fear. If you're hiding who you are, there's a reason that you can't be who you are, that you can't find out. So you live in stealth, you live in hiding. And even when Don't Ask, Don't Tell got repealed, those were LGBT, but no T. And I continued serving in fear with supportive people, but only very few because you can't risk someone finding out. I got assigned here in DC, and I was here when June 30th, 2016. I will never, ever forget that date. I remember watching that press conference by Secretary Carter and just crying. And very eagerly the next day, finding an officer, because I wanted to find an officer, to come out. Can I have another mic?
You can have all the mics, Valeria.
Otherwise, I'm just going to speak.
You're good.
All right. This one's even better.
Yeah.
All right. I came out, and it was very important to me, and I did it in a hallway because I was tired of hiding, and I wanted to be seen. And I had a great time serving here in the DC area. But the Army is going to Army. And so they sent me to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Oh, come on, y'all know that sounds better than that. I begged not to go. It's like, please, not Missouri. Because I knew. Oh, it's my fault. I was told Sergeant Stanley, you're going to go to Missouri. So I went. I was already out. When I got there, 3 different people came up and said, girl, don't go to these places in town. They'll kill you. Not, they'll kill you. No, they will kill you. That was brought home a little bit a few years later when I found bullet holes in my car. In my house driveway. While serving, supported troops, right? Just not all of them. And no one cared. My unit didn't care. The police report was 1 paragraph closed after a week. CID said, oh, we don't investigate off post. We know that's bullshit. No one cared. I served when there was a lot of hatred in my unit. I had people who knew that I could not complain about it due to the administration rules at the time. So they would work the wrong pronouns in every sentence. You know how hard it is to work pronouns in every sentence? So kudos to them. When I got out, I came here because this is the place. And I remember going to Pride the first time here in DC, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was amazing. But I did not touch the button. Pride in the city, Pride here in DC, Pride in other wonderful places is not always the go-to. Back in Missouri, we had Pride. It was a picnic, a family picnic, because you couldn't say that it was for Pride, it would not be approved. Y'all see me not pushing the button. You know what? Can y'all hear me?
No.
No? Damn, everyone always says I have a big
I'll have you on my phone.
We're just going to get through this.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, sorry about that.
We're good.
It was a family picnic. I just happened to invite a large numbers of my family from all around the Tri-County area. But Pride is not always big and flashy. And it's important to remember that. And so I was chatting with someone earlier today, and some more thoughts came to me, and I actually wrote them down. Pride isn't just about venues, flashy lights, and so forth. It's about being able to gather with your people, to be seen, to see, to exist. The rest is a bonus. So today, world, I exist. You did not take me from me. You can't. And I will continue to exist, even if you wish I didn't and desperately want me to retreat into the shadows from whence you forced me to hide. I am here. I am me, and I am not ashamed, because I am proud. And I love being here with all of my people, military and veteran service. So thank you all.
Mic check, mic check. Will they break it?
This is my daughter, who we just rescued out of Missouri, one of the last ones to leave. And I'm so thrilled she made it here to share Pride with us.
Y'all give it up for family. Thank you so much for sharing, Olivia. So the next person that I have coming up that is an amazing storyteller and also a vital voice in the trans community. You guys give it up for Josie Calero.
Hello, everybody. How are you? All right, great. It's so good to be here. I think, like a lot of the storytellers, it's like, you want me to come and tell stories? I usually talk about data and talk about what's going on and candidates and training and all of that. But it really took a minute to think about this and what it meant for me. And I was thinking about why I joined. So I joined the Navy in 2004, rural Texas, and it's rural conservative Texas, and yes, they still fly Confederate flag. So I had to get the hell out of there. But one of the things, and this was obviously don't ask, don't tell, when I was growing up as a brown kid, it wasn't go far to school. It's either go to the local community college or join the military. And I jokingly say, I'm a GOP child soldier. Because, there was really no real options for me. I had to join the military to get the hell out of my hometown, to actually see cities and actually be a part of the world at large in my, living in that small town. There's a lot there. So I went to the recruiting station. I was like, give me the hardest job you got, intellectually. And they were like, why don't you be a Navy nuke? Why don't you join the Naval Nuclear Operations Program? And I was like, sounds good enough for me. So I joined, and I went to boot camp, and I became a reactor operator. Now, I also joined, and this is after much reflection, because I wanted to prove to the world I was a tough guy. And this isn't a very unique scenario for a lot of trans people who join the military. In fact, and because I'm going to go and squeeze my data in as I can, a trans person is twice as likely to join the military than a cis person. And because there's a lot of affirming social constructions in the military. So I was going to prove I was tough, right? Who can say I'm not a man in uniform in the military? And, well, sadly, I wasn't a part of the Good Old Boys Club. Surprise. I wasn't at all. As much beer as I drank and as much sports ball information I learned, there was nothing I could do to convince the boys that I was one of them. Surprise, surprise. So, of course, as many of us know, the bullying starts, the assaults start, the pushing you around. Because I was always fairly petite, especially coming out of high school. I weighed 127 pounds. I was tiny as masculine presenting person. So what did I do? And I put on armor. And what that armor looked like was going from 127 pounds to weighing 170 pounds of pure muscle. And I did that in about 8 months. It was wild. And it was the thing that fueled me, the thing that kept me sane and out of the red. And boy, I did not feel very sexy, or I was just a big person don't mess with me or I will knock you to the ground. I learned jiu-jitsu. I was strong. They tried to jump me once. I was throwing people around and they're like, oh my God, like you're gonna hurt somebody. I'm like, yeah, that's the point right now. And you know, it's like it's kind of interesting because I'm not a violent person. I'm actually, if you know me, I'm pretty loving and caring, and you would never think that I've smashed a man's nose to his face and completely shattered that thing. And it's his fault. He tackled low. Why are you tackling the knees? It's too easy. And you know, and you know, looking back at that time, I'm like, oh, I only have like two photographs of me in this huge physique, you know, like welterweight fighting style body. That's what I had. And I was like, wow, how many cis men that have that body have two photos? Like, I would see the men in the mirror, like look at their gains, you know, doing them, and I was just like walk by and I'm like, okay, I'm still big, and I just move on, right? It's like I would even wear baggy clothes because I didn't want my muscles to bulge out of them. You know, because coveralls do that for you if you're in the military, you know, pajamas. And you know, getting out and going through, it took me about a decade to shed the internal transphobia, the internal homophobia, and everything that was like ingrained into me. And there was a moment when I was thinking, when I started taking my hormones, and that was back in 2020, and I remember distinctly, am I shedding my armor? And that was one of the things that was that moment of, oh my gosh, I can actually put away this persona, this big tough person, this asshole that I put on to the people around me so they wouldn't mess me, keeping people this far away, never knowing who I actually was. And as the transition continued, I started to see myself slim. I started to see my hips. Started to see like, oh my gosh, I have a figure. Like what? What is this? And for the first time, it peeked through. It was who I was supposed to be, the body I'm supposed to have. And I know it's like, oh my gosh, trying girl talking about her story. But for me as a veteran, it meant a huge amount because we all are carrying, you know, baggage and pain from our military days. But I cannot explain the level of healing that happened when I shed that armor. The level of trauma from my own past was wrapped around the toxic masculinity I was throwing down my own throat, trying to pretend that something wasn't real, and I was able to actually be happy, actually able to live my life. And what happened? Of course, people that I served with called me up on the phone and was like, hey Josie, like, I'm this too. And I'm like, oh my God. And I saw veterans in my life come out to me saying, can I do this? And that's why I started my transition to the Veterans Administration, to force them to do what I fought for, to force them to give me my doctor-prescribed healthcare. And I helped so many trans veterans receive that care. And luckily, and fortunately now, I'm the vice president of the Transgender American Veteran Association, where we still are able to do that to this day. Yeah, fellow board member. And when I look at all of this stuff that is happening to our active duty folks that are serving openly, wearing themselves and not having to put on this armor, when I see the beauty of service as oneself, it gave me a lot of hope. I was like, wow, this is real. This is absolutely real. And now we see the turning of the clocks. We're seeing all of this happen again. But I will say this, they're not going to stop trans people from serving. No way will they stop us. We're still going to be joining at a higher rate, serving honorably, and hopefully in the future, other veterans won't have to put on that armor. Because that's what these trans folks are going to do. They're going to put on that armor and still serve honorably, gritting their teeth and bearing it. And I believe in the future, they will be able to shed that armor just like I did. So thank you for listening, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Josie, for your story. We appreciate you. How y'all feeling? Y'all all right? Y'all still here? Y'all good? I want to take a minute to give it up for our bartenders, Sunny and T. Can y'all give it up for the bartenders one time for one time? Super grateful they're doing their thing. Y'all in here looking mocktail dizzy. Appreciate that. Must have got the shroom drink. Okay. Let's see you. So the next person that I'm bringing up to give their story, their truth, is none other than Sabrina Bruce. Woo, woo.
I'm not in the program, and you guys are looking at me right now because I got an email from Ash, and she wanted me to come do this. But the email arrived on May 9th, right? So the Supreme Court made that decision on May 6th, and that's what Josie was alluding to. It was a tough weekend, but I did apologize to Ash profusely for ignoring her email, and I'm so lucky to be here and be able to speak to you all. So a lot of these stories, we're all telling something similar, right? A journey. Where does it start, right? How does it start for trans people? And we're all queer here, we generally know. There's all different kinds of flavors, though. And for me, I was in rural South Carolina, same with Elyria, wherever she went, over here, yeah. She lived by the coast, but I lived up in the mountains. My family is similar to what others have mentioned, very conservative, MAGA, through and through. There's a cursed picture of me in my parents' house where I wore the MAGA hat that my mom has, just for shits and giggles. My wife thought I was going to get struck by lightning, but it was okay. And so, growing up in that household, there were no words for being transgender in South Carolina at that time. I'm 34 and I was born in 1991, and South Carolina is years and years behind what people know and what people do. And, it was barely beyond segregation where I grew up. My elementary school had one Black person in it. My high school had a few Black people. So we really hadn't moved very far there. So understanding being trans, understanding any of that, it wasn't realistic. I didn't have words for it. Thank goodness for the internet, where I'm able to start seeing myself and understanding myself. But definitely I put on that armor that Josie was alluding to. And I tried to be hyper-masculine. I joined the high school football team. It was a very small school, so they had no tryouts. If you had a pulse, you could play on the team. And so I was like, masculine guys play football, so I'm going to play football. And so I thought it would be a good idea, and it wasn't very good. I'm kind of much bigger now, much stronger than I was in high school. So it really puts to bed all the arguments about trans women, being stronger as a boy, whatever. I don't know. Yeah. Didn't work out for me. But what I did learn when I was playing football was how to pick myself back up. Because I wasn't very good. I only practiced, right? I was on the practice field all the time. People bullied me constantly, but I refused to give them the satisfaction of quitting. I would get hit hard, tackled, knocked to the ground, get concussions, bruises, bumps, all of these. Every single time, I picked myself up off the ground and got back in line. So I never won any awards, probably played 20 minutes over the 3 years that I was on the football team. But the one moment that I remember today is that one of my teammates, it was my senior year, he told me, wow, can't believe that we're seniors now, and you were on the football team this entire time. It was so impressive that you never let anybody drive you out of this. So that made it worth it. I hated a lot of the time playing football. It wasn't very fun, right? I wasn't playing in the game. I was just showing up to practice and I was just getting hit. But little did I know that resilience was being built right there. That resilience that I needed to become who I am. That resilience that I lean on today, right? To keep being who I am and to understand and to move forward. We moved on from high school and went to college for a little bit. I didn't get a degree. The only thing I really learned in college was how to party. I learned a little bit on money as well from selling drugs, occasionally maybe, allegedly. But the military kind of was always in the back of my mind, something I wanted to do. Being a kid in South Carolina and growing up, seeing 9/11 and seeing Iraq War, Afghanistan War, all those things going on, it was always in the back of my mind something that seemed like I should do this. I want to do this. So as college kind of flared out and I just was failing classes, I went to the recruiter. Of course, I was smoking a lot of weed at this time, so the recruiter asked me, like, you smoke weed? And I said, yeah. He's like, how much? I was like, well, not every day for 3 years, like, however many days that is. He's like, well, just pick a number between 1 and 10 and go from there. So I picked a number, and shortly after that, I went to basic training. And for somebody like me who had been bullied a lot, not really found any group that I'd ever fit in with, showing up at basic training, joining the Air Force at the time, it was amazing, right? I found my people. I found something that I could be good at, right? Like, I played football and I went to school and all this, but I was never good at any of those things. I was a C and D student. I don't know how I graduated anything. But I found something I could be good at, that connection and that community of the military. Man, it was so good, right? God. It felt so good to do something that was worthwhile, to be a part of something that was bigger than myself. I remember standing in the basic training area. One of the Air Force's core values is integrity first. And standing there, like, I knew I was trans at that point. I tried to pretend I wasn't still, but I knew that's what I was. And it's like, how do I do these things? How do I live a life of integrity, but have this inside me? I joined the Air Force in 2013, so it was post Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but trans people still weren't really allowed to be out and open. But I shoved it down and I started to kind of put on some more armor, hide some stuff. And it wasn't until 2016 when Secretary Carter allowed open trans service that I really started to consider that I could transition. So being from South Carolina, I never thought it was realistic, right? I never thought that I would be able to do this. Thought I'd get made fun of, lose my family, friends, everything. But thankfully, that connection that I had in the Air Force, that courage that I developed serving, lets me having the courage to be myself. I'm still active duty right now. And so those things that I've learned, that courage, that character, those things are something you can't take away. I will always be strong. That's what I've learned how to do. And nobody, not the Secretary of Defense, not the President, they can't take those things away from you. Not from any of us. So it was in 2016 I deployed. And then it was summertime, so that's when the policy changed. But I wanted to go on my deployment, right? I was going to do this as part of my thing. And out there, I saw an article about Logan Ireland. Everybody knows Logan, right? He's like the most popular trans guy ever. He's a great dude, right? I saw an article about him, and I was like, man, look at this guy living his truth. And I still hadn't accepted that I was really trans and I could really do this. My deployment was in Africa, in Djibouti. Not a great place. I was working night shift. And I would walk back to my little storage unit type cubicle thing that I lived in. And I would just watch the sunrise over those weird, like, African desert plains. Just thinking about what I was putting at risk if I transitioned, what I was going to lose. I was going to lose myself. Who was I going to be? Was I still going to be good at this? Was I gonna lose this family that I had just because I wasn't gonna be who I was? I pushed forward through it though, right? It was a dark moment, dark time. Never forget the storage unit thing that I lived in had this bar that kind of ran across the ceiling. And I would lay in my little bed and look at that bar, and I'm like, it might just be easier just to kind of end it here and not have to deal with this anymore. To not have to make this choice, make this decision. I was so afraid. Thankfully, I had some good friends back home that I was able to talk to, reach out to. We worked through that, pushed through it. I got back to my base. I was stationed in Denver, Colorado at Buckley Air Force Base, now Space Force Base. Probably the best place you could ask to transition. You know, DC is all right, but Denver? I smoke weed there. I guess you can in DC now too. Thanks, Pip. But you know, Denver was awesome, right? I went to Pride there in 2017 after I'd come out and started transitioning. It was great. But still, like, I was worried about what would happen, how things would go. And but I kept pushing forward. I knew that I had to do this. Once I made that decision, there's no stopping, right? So I took the jump, took the leap, did all the things that I had to do, started to come out to my squadron. And you know, lo and behold, just like fear whispers to you all the time. It says, this is gonna suck. Like, you're not good enough. You can't do this. That's what fear tells you. Fear's a fucking liar. When I came out, right, and I did my thing, people still love me. Some people talk shit. Of course. There's haters no matter what, right? People are gonna hate you for all kinds of things. Doesn't matter. Push forward. So I was able to transition to my unit. Shortly after that, like, I went to Korea, stationed there for a year. That was tough because I was still early in my transition. And on base, you had to go to the little cafeteria. My hair was still short. It still was. People could just look at me and like, oh, there's the one trans girl on the Korean base right there. But you know what? Those lessons from football came back, right? Nobody's gonna knock me down. I'm gonna keep standing and I'm gonna keep being proud of who I am. So I would walk into the little cafeteria, my head held high, get my food, sit down and eat it, be myself, right? And I think just like on the football field, people appreciate that. People can see when you're strong. People believe in that. It inspires people. And day after day, we change hearts and minds when we're able to stand up like that. But everybody knows it's hard to be strong all the time. It's hard to have that up. So now, here we are today. Like, I've transitioned 2017, 8 years later. I have about a month, 2 months military left. Woo. Yeah. Sucks. I plan on doing 20 years. I love the military. I love everything that I've been able to do. I love being able to give back. But it's coming to an end. But just like I said, right? You get knocked down and you don't stay down. Maybe you dust yourself off, but you pick yourself back up and you move forward. It's okay to be sad about some of these things. It's okay to be a little upset, a lot upset. It's okay to miss emails. Sorry, Ash. But it's not okay to just stay there. We don't stay on the ground. We're better than that, each one of us. And I know everybody here has that inside them. So I'm thankful for places like this, opportunities to share. Thankful to have all my friends here, my LGBT friends. This is my community. I've learned that community is important, and I know that I'm able to overcome because of community, because of each one of you. And I know that each one of you have my back, and I've got your back. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. I'm sorry, I'm waiting for the noise to die down. I don't care, but you're not going to interrupt this next storyteller. That's what's not going to happen. So you can make the noise for me. But the next storyteller I have had the pleasure of connecting with for a while today. We chatted and we talked and we realized that we're like best friends already. We have so much in common and just a beautiful spirit. But again, I'm not going to take too much from the speaker. I will let them tell you exactly who they are. So you guys, please give it up for my new best friend, Sam Rodriguez.
Hello, friends. How are we doing? Everyone good? It's World Pride. Yeah. All right. I thought I was gonna stand, but I have to hold a mic and my phone, so I think I'm gonna sit. So excuse me. Hold on. Okay, so, hi, I'm Sam Rodriguez. My pronouns are they, them. I am a volunteer membership director for Sparta. I'm also a volunteer with Minority Vets. It's a pleasure to be here and to share my story with all of you. So thank you. Find my story. Okay. So I didn't know who I was when I joined the Navy. I just knew that I really needed out of the life I was barely holding together. I knew that I was queer. The word non-binary hadn't come to me yet. But don't ask, don't tell had made sure I stayed out. So I waited 12 very long years. And when it finally lifted, I thought, maybe now I can serve. Maybe I'd find some purpose, some sense of belonging, and I did, but not in the way that I expected. What I found instead was something way bigger. I found myself becoming an activist from within. What I thought would be a career with a pension shaped into a mission much greater than I ever imagined. A fight for change, for inclusion, for equality, inside the military and beyond it. When I sit back and reflect on who I've become, I think about the kid I used to be, growing up in a house where the true teachings of love were met with hypocrisy, a Christian home that told me to love thy neighbor but judge them in the same breath, a world that told me who I had to be and punished me when I said no. If I could survive in an authoritative household, then the Navy was going to be a breeze. But what I hadn't realized was that navigating difficult personalities came naturally. But working under toxic leadership and vague policies would push me into something else entirely. Finding my voice. During my first year at my first command, my greatest fear came true. My Nana died. 3 months later, I was raped the night before I flew to South Korea for an exercise. I was grieving, I was angry, I was exhausted. And I carried all of it, quietly, efficiently, into every room where no one saw me. 6 months later, I made a report and requested a transfer, and then, in therapy, I found myself screaming on the inside, grasping for control in the middle of a powerless situation. But somewhere in the wreckage, I found comfort, I found language, I found truth, and I found me. I am trans, I am non-binary, and I needed gender-affirming care. For the first time, I felt not just seen, but possible. And with that came fire. A fire I didn't ask for, but one I will never put out. A fire others spent years trying to smother. Not this time. Not anymore. This was during the first Trump administration, months after his infamous tweet. But here's the thing. I've been picked apart, broken down, and underestimated. But I show up every single day. I show up for the junior sailor too scared to come out, for the trans kid stuck in an unsafe, unsupported household, praying for an escape. I show up because visibility is our superpower. We're loud, we're queer, and we're unapologetic. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about admiration. It's about survival. It's about grief. It's about resistance. It's about joy. It's about resilience wrapped in exhaustion and strength forged in invisibility. Authenticity is showing up in the face of adversity and saying, come from me. It's being trans in a system that debates your rights to exist. It's being non-binary in a culture that demands clarity and punishes and pushes for complexity. It's being a survivor in a place that preaches prevention but protects the predators. It's showing up knowing your truth is seen as a threat, but refusing to back down. Even after the awards, the meritorious advancements, the board-selected commissioning, even after earning respect from my peers, from my sailors, from the people I lead every day. There are still rooms I walk into and I have to prove my humanity, where I am told being loud is too much, or being quiet is not enough, where I'm expected to bend myself in half to make others comfortable. If there's one thing the patriarchy has taught me, it's how to survive in a system never built for me. And still, I have never stopped showing up as my full self. And even when it costs me comfort, even when it's made me a target. Because for me, the mission has always been the same, to serve the people, all the people, with integrity, with truth, with presence. Authenticity should be part of our national fabric. It's in the anthem, land of the free, home of the brave. But the bravest among us were being purged, silenced, shamed, told we are less than. Well, we are not less than. I am a sailor, I am a survivor, I am a leader, I am trans, I am non-binary, and I'm not going to shrink myself for your comfort, because my authenticity, my community, our authenticity should cause you to examine your worldview. I don't need permission to belong, and I never did. My uniform may be coming off, but my fight, my mission, my joy, that's just getting started. Because I didn't know who I was when I joined, but now I know exactly who I am, and I'm not done yet. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, Bestie. Thank you so much for sharing. How y'all feeling? Y'all good? Y'all still with me? Awesome. All right, so this next storyteller that I am bringing up has such an amazing story, just super rock star. I feel like if I had a spirit animal, it would be her because she is like an engineer, but also artist, like right and left brain ambidextrous, and that is so me. So I just want you guys to please give it up for B. Fram.
So I have served across the Air Force and the Space Force for 22 and a half years. And I can count on less than the fingers on my hand how many days left I have to wear the uniform. All of that because of one of the reasons in the executive order that prioritizes military excellence and readiness that says that I and others like me lack the humility required of a service member. So the first thing I ask you is, have you met a pilot? Because if humility is required, we don't need an Air Force, we don't need the world's second largest Air Force in the Navy, we don't need Army helicopters. They will tell you they're a pilot in the first 5 seconds they talk to you, and they will tell you in the next 5 seconds just how awesome of a pilot they are. And many times in my career, I've been asked what I fly because I was in the Air Force, and I had to tell them, you know what I fly? It's called a Mark I Delta Echo Sierra Kilo. Now, if you don't speak military acronyms, that's a desk. I am an astronautical engineer. I am a rocket scientist. My weapon is a keyboard. But I'm going to tell you a story about one time where maybe I did lack a little of that humility that must be so important to being a service member. I grew up and my parents always wanted to teach me how to drive a stick. I said, Mom, Dad, why would I do that? We don't have one. I'm like, well, what if it's an emergency? What are you going to do then? And I'm like, I don't know, figure it out. And they're like, come on, you need to do it. And I kept putting it off, and I never did learn how to drive that stick. But we'll move forward a couple years, and I had graduated from college, and I just got my degree, and I started looking for jobs. This was 2001, and while I was applying for jobs, we were attacked. And my life changed like that. because I wanted to give back. Like Sabrina said, I wanted to be part of something larger than myself. And importantly, I wanted to defend the freedoms and the opportunities that I had been given to make these choices in my life about who I am and what I was going to do with the time that I had been given. So I joined the Air Force because it was kind of a way I could put two dreams together. I could still work on all the cool space things that I wanted to do, and I could serve. You know what? I'm a nerdy lieutenant. Nerdy lieutenants don't generally get to go to the battlefield, but an opportunity came up, and I volunteered to deploy in 2004 to Qatar and Iraq. Got to work on some amazing technology. It was the first of 2 times in my career where I got to take technology right from the laboratory to the battlefield to save lives. In any case, after some interesting stories where I landed in Iraq and I had flown in on a C-130 with nothing but me and a special forces unit, a bunch of guys with no name tags, no markers, beards, and it was their whole unit and me. And we land, and they get off the plane, and they take all the luggage. I'm like, my gun was in that bag, so were my clothes, and they're gone. So I show up in country with nothing. I spent a couple weeks there. We're getting actively mortared. The first night that happens, the air raid sirens go off, and I roll out of bed. And what do? Do I put my body armor on? Do I hide under the bed? And people look around at me like I'm crazy because they've been there a little while, and they say, once the siren goes off, you're not dead. Just go back to sleep. Like, okay. But eventually, I returned to where I spent most of my time on deployment in Qatar at our Air Operations Center. And there's one night where my commander from Iraq was flying in, and I had to go pick him up at the airfield. What happened was I had to go check out a car. There are a great fleet of cars there. Somehow that night, I don't know how, but all the automatics checked out. Like, shit. Well, I know how to do this in theory. Let's see how it goes. Get the car, reverse a little bit, lurch my way out of the parking lot. And on the way to the airfield, there's a security checkpoint. And I am a silly little lieutenant. Sitting at the airfield, there are 2 E3s, and I stall, and I cannot get started again. And they are laughing their asses off, and one of them finally says, all right, sir, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get through this together. And they help me out. I get the car going again, and I make it to the airfield, and I pick up my commander. I say, sir, would you like to drive? He's like, no, this is gonna be fun. I end up, I make it back. We get there after a couple other lurching starts and stops, drop him off, return the car, and I get back to my desk, and I had to make what turned out to be the most difficult phone call of my life. Mom, Dad, you were right. And maybe that was me not having the humility to know that, hey, I probably should have learned how to drive a stick. So maybe the president is right in this case. But I want to give you 2 examples from my career that probably say that's not the case. And very quickly, when I came out, 2016, the day the ban on trans service dropped, when the Secretary of Defense finished speaking, I had an email that went out to my colleagues, and I had a note and a post that went to Facebook, coming out as trans. And though it took me a moment to gather the courage to hit post, to hit send, I eventually did, and then I ran away. I found the gym buried underneath the Pentagon, and I went nowhere faster than I'd ever gone anywhere in my life on the elliptical machine, wondering how is my life going to be different. When I got back to my desk, I sat down. One by one, every person that I worked with in the office walked over to me, shook my hand, and said, it's an honor to serve with you. So I was floored because the honor was all mine to work with such an amazing group of people, doing the mission that we were doing, taking care of other people. And I went on from there to have incredible adventures as myself, as my authentic self. And I became a better commander, a better leader because of it. The others have talked about the value of taking off the armor, and we have to recognize that armor does not protect you. Vulnerability is not weakness. You take that armor off and you open up an avenue for connection. And that connection is critical to accomplishing the mission that we have been given. It's all about people. Without people, without cohesion, without trust, nothing gets done. And so just this week, to bookend it, I have had several experiences where I go to the last time I go to any sort of meeting. And at the end of one of them with a bunch of generals and admirals, I would say, I ended up being the last person as they went around the room saying, what do you got? I gave one little work-related item and I said, this will be my last time at this meeting. And after that, the guy next to me says, why? I'm like, well, I clearly don't meet the president's expectation of military excellence and readiness. And it took him a moment, and then he's like, oh. And once again, at this tail end of my career, everyone in that room walked over to me, shook my hand, and said, it's an honor to serve with you. And so what they don't know with what's going on right now is that we've already won. It's just a matter of when.
Amazing, amazing. Y'all give it up one more time for Bree. Guys, we are coming to the end of the storytelling journeys. Are y'all okay? I feel almost compelled to tell you a little bit about my story, but I don't want to
Tell us.
I'm gonna do it anyway. I got the mic. Just wanted the applause. So it's only gonna take about 3 minutes, and I'll call this piece Homeland. So I'm finally home. After 15 months of Army deployment, I hadn't been home in almost 5 years. I didn't realize how much I missed it. That crisp Virginia air had me dressed to the nines, so I was rocking a scarf, blazer, and boots. My mother said there's nothing new under the sun, and she's right. Because there's still ain't nothing to do in this boring-ass town, and I got to figure out a way to blow all this money before it blows a hole in my body. So I pulled up to the BMW dealership, because I heard it stood for Big Money Works, and well, hell, my work be gigantic. I walked in, was greeted by 4 smug blue eyes, 2 white salesmen. I spoke, they didn't. I didn't care that much because I could see the browse my next irrational transaction. I opened car doors, played with all the controls, cleared my throat loudly. No one ever acknowledged me. No, they didn't even look up. Moments later, a Caucasian woman walks in. She's greeted with the same blue eyes, except this time they're smiling. She received verbal introduction and 4 helping hands, and at this moment I paused. Seeing the attention of this white woman getting over me had me scrambling for an emotion relevant to the situation. See, I was experiencing firsthand how my training as an Army recruit taught me to not allow my feelings to dictate my actions, allowing droplets of cinnamon and sour to just roll off my back like I'm a rubber duck shotgun. But this level of confusion is reminiscent of a thrown dummy grenade. You see, everybody braces themselves for the impact except the person who pulled the pin. And it is still unclear if I'm the dummy or the one who pulled the pin. Because I wanted to show them how disgusted I really was. Drove my fist into a fireball, dropped F-bombs like a fighter pilot. But this push and pull situation got me struggling for an emotion relevant to the situation. So, oh God, I just dropped the piece. It's like playing tug of war with yourself in the mirror. You see, either way, I win. Either way, I lose. I wanted to justify their unbiased reactions. I wanted them to realize that my complexion reads less like property and more like principle. I just wanted to win. It's funny how a place that's not home can feel more like home than where you live. You see, when they finally looked up to me, when the salesman finally walked over, he looked at me like I wasn't supposed to be here. Like a jungle gym. It's out of a cemetery. It's funny how a place so far away can feel more like home than the homeland I represent. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I told you not to come up. Y'all make me nervous. The next person that I'm going to bring up is the co-founder, and you probably all know them, of Minority Veterans of America. They have been the backbone of everything that I do for this organization. Super, super appreciated to be a part, and they are going to give their story, their truth. You guys, please give it up for my close friend, Lindsay Church.
Hi, I haven't been back here since we started. Hello, everybody. All right, so before I get started and tell you all my story, I want to give some roses. First and foremost, Spark Social, thank you for putting up with us and for making all of this work. The mocktails have been incredible. The community has been incredible, and I just can't say thank you enough for welcoming us into your space, giving us your time, giving us the microphone, and just being incredible hosts. So thank yous to Spark Social. The second set of flowers I would like to give is, if you were involved in creating this event, I would just love for you to raise your hand. Yeah. This event is a labor of love. It's a labor of community, and it's by us, for us. And there are two folks on my team that I would like to give extra gratitude, Ash and Cassie. If you don't know, I was on my deathbed for the last 2 weeks, and they just kept going. And have pulled together just this incredible community in this space for all of us to share in our joy, share in our pain, and to share in this moment in time in which we find ourselves. So thank you to the two of you and to the entire MBA team, to our partner organizations, Modern Military back there. Thank you for setting up back there. You all have been incredible partners, to Sparta, to the DC Office of Veterans Affairs. I'm smelling you. There you are. Hello. Do you want a minute? I feel like I should welcome you up here just to say something. I'll even hold your food. You want it? No, she said no. Come on.
You spoke already, right?
No.
No, you didn't?
Get up here. Come on now.
Okay. Here's my food. Hi, everyone. I am Director Woodard from the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs, and I am here on behalf of Mayor Bowser. And I just want to say, I would just like to say, I thank each and every one of you all for your service, your dedication, your hard work, your selfless service, your tireless service. So if you did not know, I am a colonel, retired. I did 30 years in the military. So if you count the math, I've seen it all. The young lady who spoke, I can relate to it. And the other young lady who spoke, I can relate to that. So I can relate to everything that started from early 19s, right? Early 1990s. Yeah, right, exactly. So I just want to say that I am elated to be here today, to be in the company amongst fellow service members. And I thank you for your service. And I'll see you tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
At the barbecue, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. My food. Okay.
DC Mayor's Office has been absolutely phenomenal partners to work with. Pip, your team has been great. You all have been absolutely incredible supporters. I also want to say thank you to World Pride for supporting the series of events and the very first ever Veteran and Service Pride Weekend. This has never happened before. To everybody who had a hand in it, every volunteer, every person who was involved in curating these events, we need this now more than ever. And this moment in time is so important for all of us to just share space and to be in community, and community saves lives. And to thank you to World Pride for supporting all of these events. And my last thank you is to all of you. You all showed up tonight. You've been in this space with us. I know it's hot. I know folks have been moving around, and you've navigated the what's a tornado watch? Question mark? I don't know. But just thank you for being here. It's in a time when they're trying to erase us, having our community show up in mass. I can't remember the last event we sold out, and of course we're here. This is it. And so I just want to say thank you for being here and for taking the time on a Friday night to just be here with us. So to all of you, give yourselves a hand. Thank you. You've been incredible. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. Much like many of the speakers tonight, I come from a military family. I'm a third generation. My mom served in the Navy. My grandfather served in the Navy. We have a couple Air Force folks we don't talk about. Sorry, kidding. We actually don't talk about them. So I graduated high school in 2003, and much like Bree was talking about, 2001 was a formative moment in my life. In 2003, we were in the middle of a surge, and I knew I needed to do something. I didn't know what it was. I had friends coming home without body parts. I had friends coming home in body bags, and I knew I needed to do something. And so in 2003, at the young age of 18, I joined the military. I was in the delayed entry program, getting ready to graduate high school. And if you know about the delayed entry program, you wait for a while. And it was 13 months that I was waiting. And in that time, I fell in love with my first girlfriend. And don't ask, don't tell was the policy of the land. And I didn't even know who I was. And I couldn't imagine a world where I would leave high school and join the military as this queer person and never have a moment to explore who I was. So I backed out. I canceled my contract and I carried on with my life. My mom was very mad at me. She really didn't understand why I couldn't possibly serve under this policy. And there was no end in sight to Don't Ask, Don't Tell in 2003. There was no, it's on the horizon. No, it was not going anywhere. So in 2003, I backed out of my contract and I went on, worked in retail for a while, did, odd things here and there. I was a drag king. It was a lot of fun. And I just had this opportunity to explore who I was. And I make the joke that I went from being a drag king to joining the military. So that was weird. I went from being out and authentically myself to putting myself into the deepest closet that I have ever lived in. And so in 2008, I ended up joining the military because I knew I wanted to be a part of something. I knew I was meant to serve in the military and knew that I still had this deep part of myself that just needed to be in uniform and needed to serve my country. And so I put myself in a closet voluntarily. In 2008, there still wasn't an end in sight. It was not close. We weren't even getting there. And so I joined the Navy in 2008, and I had a sordid experience. And I could tell you many stories of the discrimination that I faced from day one, whether it be in boot camp, where I almost got kicked out for recruit-to-recruit contact, which is very strange, but they told me if I came to the military to find somebody to get in rats with, I gave them the wrong place. Believe me, nobody's going to the military to find somebody to get into rats with. Woo, what boot camp is not pretty. And so I was very good at being in the military. I came from a military family. I was a linguist, and so I was at the Defense Language Institute, and I was doing pretty well. I was getting ready to finish language school, and I had a petty officer who wanted to take me on a walk. And he wanted to tell me, Stephen Church, you're very good at what you do. You have a long career in the military. And People like you are good in the military and we protect people like you. But I need to give you advice. And that advice was, I need you to grow your hair out and I need you to find a gay man to be a boyfriend. And those were the things that they told me to do to protect myself. And if you know me, I didn't have as many swear words in the bank yet, but it was basically fuck you. I'm not doing that because if this military cannot accept me for who I am, I'm not meant to be here. And so I stayed. I looked exactly like this. It didn't change. Cassie and I actually served together. She can tell you I did not change. I refused because I was good at being in the military and you weren't going to tell me that growing my hair out would somehow make me better at being a linguist because it absolutely would not. Also, if you have blonde hair in the military, it's actually a harder life. But and so I carried on with my life. I graduated language school. I got hurt very badly in the military by a doctor who did a surgery that never should have been done. Spent a lot of time in the hospital. Most of my service was spent recovering from surgeries, living at the military medical barracks, and just barely surviving. There was a point in my service that I felt so alone that one night I almost jumped out of my 5th floor window because I couldn't see that I was loved. I couldn't see that there was an end in sight to what I was experiencing, and I was alone. Couldn't tell people who I was because every single person that you tell in service is one more person you have to worry about telling more secrets. Every person that knew was a vulnerability that you were exposing yourself to. And if you got caught, they told you many times that dishonorable discharge is the same as a felony conviction. And I knew that in the back of my head. And so I lived in a deeper closet than I could even imagine when I joined the military. And so I was stationed in San Diego. And fast forward to 2012, I was getting ready to get medically discharged or medically retired. And I got to go to the world's largest coming out party. September 20th, 2012 was San Diego's gayest day ever. And if you know San Diego, it's pretty gay. But I remember going to an event, and Eric Alba, for anybody who's old like me knows Eric Alba, was one of the first person injured in Iraq. And he came out and was one of the strongest people I've ever seen speak before. And so we went to the LGBTQ Center in San Diego. We listened to them speak. And we went out and we partied the night away. And for the first time since I joined the military, I felt free. That day, I will never forget how much joy and resilience our community showed that we were always there and we were not going anywhere. I got out of the military 3 months later, and so I got to serve for 3 months as an open queer person, and I got to be my full self. I got to be the person that I knew I was inside, and it was beautiful. I left the military 2 years before I was supposed to, medically retired. I had 9.5-inch metal rod in my chest. I was missing all of the cartilage, several of my bones, and I was lost. I left the military truly not knowing who I was, and I felt like somebody walked me to the gate and said goodbye and good luck. And that was my experience transitioning out of the military. I returned back to Seattle to go to college. And I went to campus and I experienced so much isolation and so much difference that I never felt like I fit. I tell the story of going to campus for the first time, and it's like that movie where like everybody's swirling around you and you're just standing there and you don't know what is what. I couldn't really understand why kids were wandering around with skateboards, button-ups, and sweatpants. It was very confusing for a person like me. I didn't know how to dress. I had no idea. And so I spent a couple of years really just wandering around trying to figure out, where do I fit? Do I belong? Will I ever feel like I belong? And so on campus, I was lucky to have some really incredible friends, and 5 of us started an organization on campus. It still stands. It serves 3,000 students a year. It's been standing since 2015. And it's one of the proudest things that I've ever done. And it was toxic. It was a community that I was really proud of building and a community that I was pushed out of. Only because I was different, because I looked like this, because I refused to listen to their nasty jokes, because I refused to let them call us names, because I refused to let them use slurs. And I was the problem. And so in this community that I thought that I had found a home in, I found pain. And it was almost as devastating as leaving the military once. And so in 2017, I call this the era of Trump's greatest hits. It was the first Women's March, the first assault on reproductive rights. It was the Muslim ban. And on July 26, 2017, my life changed forever, as did many of y'all. Donald Trump decided that trans people were not fit, they didn't belong in the military, and we were going to announce a policy that we're going to change people's lives via Twitter. And my best friend and I on campus, Catherine Pratt, who is our co-founder, who is my accomplice at everything, the two of us had both experienced a lot. I was a queer, not quite out, but non-binary person. She was a Korean American Indian veteran. Her dad was a veteran, he was a white man, her mom was an immigrant, and she also never felt like she fit. And in that moment, two of us, via text message, because we are millennials after all, we said we have to do something. And we have to create something. We have to fight this. And if we're going to do it, we have to do it together. That I will never understand what it feels like to live in her body, and she will never understand what it feels like to live in mine. We won't share the same experiences, but God, we're fighting the same fight. And so together, we decided we were going to create the first intersectional movement in minority veterans. We were going to work on race, gender, sexual orientation, and religion. All dirty words. And we were going to create a movement, and we might not ever be as powerful as any of these PSOs. We were never going to be any of the organizations, but we were going to do something. We didn't know what it was. We just said, we put out a Google form, because, that's how you start. And in the first day, 40 people joined. Did we know what we were going to do? Absolutely not. We basically just said, we're going to fight, we're going to create a community. We're going to find a place where we belong, and if it doesn't exist, we're going to create it. And so in 2017, August 7th, so 12 days after the trans ban was announced, we decided to found Minority Veterans of America. And this journey has been one of the wildest things I have ever done. But you all are the manifestation of a dream. Everybody sitting in this room, the only person I knew at the time was Cassie. Hi, Cassie. Who has also been around we've been friends for 20 years at this point, so she's stuck with me too. But we were going to do something, and we were going to figure out how we were going to create this community. And none of you knew us at the time, but over the last 8 years, this community has grown. Across the country, across the world, there are MBA members that are joining our organization because we believe in something better, because we're fighters, because we know that we belong, and we know we are the military. We are the veteran community, and you can look past us as much as you want, but you'll never look through us. You will never see a day when people like us don't serve. I don't give a shit what policy you enact. We will still be there, because prior to the trans ban, prior to trans service, 1 in 5 trans people would serve in the military. That's twice what cisgender people in this country will do. And that was before the ban was lifted. That was before 10 years of open and authentic service by the brave people in this room, and by the brave Americans who continue to wear the uniform. And let me tell you, our community will fight like hell. And it doesn't have to be like this, but I will tell you, we are not going anywhere. We say this often, and I saw somebody with a shirt, she's not here anymore, but we say this often. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We don't have the luxury of waiting for somebody else to come and save us. Our community are the greatest fighters in this country, and we will continue to fight. I don't care what nastiness you throw at us. I don't care what policies you throw at us. I don't care if you try to run us out of this country. Our community will continue to serve. We will continue to serve each other, And we will continue to build spaces just like this because we belong. We are the fabric of this nation, and we're not going anywhere. And much like Bree said a minute ago, we have already won. It's just a matter of when. Because this space tonight tells me everything that I need to know about our future. We're not going anywhere. The only place we're going is to a place to be together. And we survive through community spaces, through telling our stories, through connecting with one another, through being collected in the NBA team. Hello, everybody. If you want to be a part, come on in. And we will continue to survive this because our community isn't going anywhere, and we have each other in a place that we didn't have before. If you had looked around the room in 2017 when they announced that policy, we didn't have this space. We didn't see your faces yet, but we knew we existed, and we knew that we belonged together, and we are fighters, and we are not going to go goddamn anywhere. We have always been here, and this community will stand the test of time. And if we do this right, Minority Veterans of America will be here forever. I'm going to die, and I hope this organization is still alive. We're going to continue to provide housing to LGBTQ veterans. We're going to continue to advocate for policies that see us, that give us dignity, and show us our value. We are going to continue to fight in Congress, in the streets. We are going to continue to fight everywhere that there is a fight. We will show up because we are the community America is waiting for. This group will be what fights next. We won't stop because there's no option for us. There's nobody coming behind us yet. It's our job to make sure that they know that this space is for them. It's our job to make sure that our stories are told. And these types of events, we started our Stories Are Truth back in 2019 in Richmond, Virginia, which is not exactly the place that you would imagine that this would happen. But it's because we are resilient, and it's because we know how to find each other, and it's because we know how to build. This is something beautiful that did not exist in 2017. But I tell you, in 3017, I hope we're still here. If we're still here at this limit. We're not going anywhere. Our community is built for this. We were built for this moment, and every one of you, we will find each other on the front lines because that's our job. Our calling is to fight for America, no matter what America tries to throw at us, no matter who's in the White House, no matter who is in Congress. We are fighters. And this community will be what continues to make America great. Not this like cute MAGA hat, but the truth of America is us. And it's our job now to tell our stories. It's our job in this moment when they try to erase us to make sure that they know we're not going fucking anywhere. Nowhere. We will continue to fight because we have each other. And we didn't have that before. And we won before, we will win again, and we will come back stronger. And there's a moment of reckoning that's coming to this country for what is happening right now. And I can tell you that we will be there to make sure the next generation of service members, the next generation of veterans, that we have what we need. And until that happens, we are not done fighting. So thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you all in the streets.
Yeah. Y'all give it up for LG. We ain't going nowhere. You feel empowered when you know you got backup, you start talking shit. And what? I'm gonna do something. Yo, that was amazing. I definitely appreciated that story. Coming from the co-founder of Minority Veterans of America. You guys, that ends our storytelling session. Give it all selves a hand. You made it through. We appreciate it. We have a little bit of things we wanna give you guys and talk to you guys before you go. But first, I have to bring back the host of the house. Y'all give it up for Nick one more time.
Thank you so much. Lindsay, that was amazing. And it kind of reminded me of a moment when we were opening Spark, which was, I totally started this thinking that we were going to be in like a Kamala presidency and we'd just be having like the best 4 years ever. And then Trump got elected and it was a huge surprise. And my mom's sitting right here. She's the best mom ever. She called, or the next time we talked, she asked me like, "Are you still going to do this?" Because we're basically just creating a big target for ourselves. And I guess my response was yes, like more than ever, we have to do this because, as Lindsay said, like very quickly it became super clear that nobody in senior leadership cared about us. Nobody, like no CEOs, like, just backed out of pride. Like there was like no resistance at all. And so until like we get to the top, like nobody else is looking out for us. So it's been really great to see everybody come together today. And I have a few coins that I wanted to give out because I have challenge coins for Spark.
I love it.
So Lindsay, if you could come up.
That shit hit harder than a presidential coin right now.
These are on sale for $10. And then Ash and yes, and Sam. Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, the last thing I would say is like we've all put our lives on the line for the country. Why not put it on the line for yourself? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is like as Lindsay said, like we don't have time to wait. We in DC have a little bit more time, but there's the worry of like this being a target is outweighed by my worry of people taking their own lives because they have no hope, because there is no place like this and we are stuck in the shadows. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next while, and I would love for everybody to come back and visit at any time. I just have a couple other announcements. So if you haven't been to DC before, Bunker is the only gay club. And it's right around the corner, and it's amazing, and I would recommend everybody goes. I will be here until 4 a.m. We have our afters here, so if at any point you want to come by, we have grilled cheese and Belgian waffles. And if you want any other recommendations, my staff is all amazing, and you can ask any one of them what's going on tonight. And then the last thing is that we have a Marine Corps veteran that does stained glass, and he's like one of our vendors that comes here. His art is up on his stained glass is up kind of throughout. You'll see it if you look at the windows. And yeah, so he's upstairs. If you want to check it out, he makes really cool like pride flags out of stained glass and like stuff like that. So thank you all again so much for coming by and supporting, and this has just been amazing. So happy to post the next ones here.
I just want to say the coins are dope. You guys should really get one.
It's really, really nice. Like it says, okay, so look, for those listening, we're at Spark Social, and the back of the coin says "Spark a Connection at 14th and U." Like that is so deep on so many levels. I love a double entendre, a triple entendre. I appreciate that coin. So thank you so much, Nick, for that. You guys, thank you guys so much for allowing us to come in and talk to you and storytelling. You guys genuinely holding space and being present. That means so much to us. Give you guys another round of applause. Keep clapping. I'm about to throw a bunch of stuff out. Thank you, Spark Social. Thank you, Tegan. Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Selena. Thank you, everybody in the building. Thank you, those on YouTube who are watching. You guys, thank you so much for just being a part, for letting us tell our story, our truth. The next voices you will hear will no longer be mine. I am done for the night. However, the two people that have been moving their butts, ensuring that this thing popped off, got some things to tell you and give you. So I am going to bring up my good friends, Cassie and Ash.
Woo! Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out. We do recognize that not just the storytellers up here tonight have stories to tell, everyone does. So if you take a look at your program, you can see that we have QR codes in there. And one of the QR codes is you can go on, drop your photo, tell your story, and Minority Vets will share it on our socials throughout the month of June. Additionally, there is another QR code in here too. We've had a photographer here all night. Shout out to Tab. Tab has been here all night. So if you want to access all of the photos from tonight, scan the other QR code and make sure that we'll drop them to you. Last but not least, it's Ash.
Thank you, everybody. We also acknowledge that everybody has a story and maybe you're not ready to share it. So please grab a gift bag as a token of our appreciation for you holding space for us and our stories tonight. There's a little mini journal in there, and we encourage you to write something, even if you keep it to yourself. So please keep telling your stories, keep fighting. Our joy, our existence is resistance, and we want to see you on these streets. Thank you.